Well, hey there. Hang on real quick. Gabe isn't going to be here for another half an hour or so, and I'm trying to figure out where the mute button is for all the rat lovers who go too far. I think that's it. Okay, cool. Now, what was I going to say? Oh, yeah, it's Mano E Monday, and we're going to talk about how the Saints almost won. But apparently, Rizzi went to the Dan Campbell School of Coaching, and that didn't quite work out for him. This is going to be a fun 80 minutes or so, isn't it? Well, why wait any longer? Let's cue the music.
If you're looking for the latest scoop and in-depth interviews on the Saints, the NFL, the Pelicans, LSU, along with the best bets of the week, then lucky you. Along with high-powered, in-the-know guests who cover our teams, Jim Derry brings plenty of Dattitude. And he'll always tell you the way it is, or at least the way he thinks it is.
Where you at, Dattitude family and others who may be here waiting to poke and prod? I can't decide whether I should just answer comments and questions from y'all or play rats round and round on loop for an hour and 20 minutes, whatever. Round and round. Remember Rat? The music? No, not the quarterback. What the hell? Anyway, let's give this thing a whirl. It should be fun on Dattitude, episode number 323, presented by Evangeline Securities for a Monday, December the 16th, 2024. I see somebody already pressed the mad symbol, the little emoji. Somebody's mad already. I'm your host, Jim Derry, 34 years on the New Orleans media scene. Anything happened yesterday? I will say this. At least for one half of football yesterday, it sure was exciting. No, look, all of that, the most important thing, I'm wearing it today. Shaw Eagles, baby. State championship, in case you missed it. That's not what we're talking about today? All right, we'll talk about what's important to you. Here is your chance to be part of a YouTube show. Yes, you can do it by typing in your comment, whether you're watching on YouTube or Facebook. Of course, if you haven't already done so, if you've come this far, if you're watching on Facebook or wherever you're watching, that's not YouTube, make sure you go to our YouTube page and subscribe. We have lots of fun here in the show. Even if you don't agree with me, even if you came here to disagree, it's all good. We're going to have a lot of fun. I got some clips to show you. Darren Rizzi. I have 3 separate Darren Rizzi clips. They're all going to be big, okay? No, they're not going to be big, but they're not, whatever. I'm going to spend as much time in this show probably today talking about Darren Rizzi as I'm going to talk about Spencer Rattler. But there is going to be Spencer Rattler talk, I promise you. Plenty of it. Also, before we get into it, as you see on the schedule, we have a weird schedule the rest of the year. I just realized literally last night that I have a ton of vacation that I have to take or I'll lose it. And look, I love y'all. And I love to get in these debates, but not that much. I need some vacay, and if I don't use it, I'll lose it. So I can carry over a week, and I have a lot more than a week. So you see what our schedule is going to be on the screen as we go forward. We're going to be on the Wednesday. There's no game until Monday, so we're going to take from after Wednesday's show. We'll be off until Monday. And I'm not going to do a show on Christmas Eve. I'm just not. So we will be back after that on Friday, and you see the schedule, Monday the 29th. We're going to do a bowl special at some point as well, but that's not what you want to talk about today. You want to talk about the Rat and the Riz. That kind of goes together, Rat and the Riz. All right. I'm going to get into some of the comments this morning, but I got Derry's dime coming up, so I'm not going to get into all the Rat stuff right away. Okay. We're going to save some of it. I got to get my dime. I got to talk about my friends at Evangeline Securities. Show presented by Evangeline Securities, that is. Good morning, Rocky. Rizzi, are you serious? We're going to get into... Look, Rocky, you and I are in the minority, I promise you. I promise you we're in the minority when it comes to going for 2. But we are going to spend a lot of time talking about going for 2. Good morning, Charles. Rizzi blew it. Actually, the refs went in favor of the Saints. We're going to get into that too. I mean, would y'all feel any differently? Can I ask this question in a little bit? You can answer it now if you want. Would y'all feel any differently if the clock ran like it was supposed to? And if you don't know what we're talking about, you can go check it out. An official, for some unknown reason, and look, y'all know what I think about conspiracy theories, okay? I think they're as bogus as whatever. Whatever. I think conspiracy theories are bogus. But someone needs to explain to me why the side judge was coming in and calling timeout, stopping the clock with 9 seconds left when the Saints were out of timeouts. And had he not done that, Rattler would have never been able to spike the ball. The clock would have struck 0. I'm just saying. We're going to get into that. Charles, yeah, I'm glad Shaw won too. You listen to most of the game on VSN? Well, thank you. I was a little fired up. I lost my voice for a little bit. Randall's here. Can't wait to talk about the rat. Pels do stink. We're not talking about the Pels today. Promise you. S. Callie, good morning. Who Dat Nation? Pels stink. UBN wants to know if it's too late for Rattler to win MVP. Uncle Big Nick, anything is possible. Corey Terrio, it takes a lot more than one half of play and a loss. They lost. Dude, they lost. Rattitude. It takes a lot more than one half of play to change the name of this show. And the number one thing is, the number one criteria is they have to win, okay? You can't lose. Good morning, A-Town. He says he guesses the Rizzi experiment is over with. I don't know. I'm worried, man. I got to be honest. I am super worried about that. Again, that is kind of the subject of my dime. And then after that, we can talk more about Rattler, if you so choose. Ashley Farrell, good morning. Great second half. Feel like if they went to OT, wouldn't have been able to get down the field and scored, so the extra point was the right choice. I think most of y'all know how I feel. I'm going to get into that. John Pace, good morning. Barry Ulay, take the point. Your team had the momentum. The crowd was back in the game. Sort of. Randall, 8 sacks is impressive. It is. Let's see what else we got here. Sean, Saints need to start playing and evaluating young talent to prepare for next season. We need to let Carr sit. We need to let Carr sit and get healthy. What would be the purpose of bringing him back? You want to win? That'd be purpose number one. But I mean, I wouldn't bring him back because I don't think he's healthy. But if they think he's healthy and they want to win, which they should want to win, you should always want to win, then you bring him back. We'll get into that later. Dylan Smith, good morning, who that's? Good morning. Merry Christmas to all. It's early. We got what, 2 more shows for Christmas? You ain't going nowhere, Dylan. Hakeem, my friend Hakeem, couldn't wait to yell at me on the Saints Insider show yesterday. I heard you, my friend. I heard you. Jeff Haspel, go for 2. Right call. Bounced off his hands. Proud of this. Didn't bounce off his hands. What play were you watching? It was nowhere. What are you talking about? Oh, you meant if he would have thrown it to Austin, who was standing in the back of the end zone, going, hello. Oh, that's what you meant. Oh, you mean the rat, the one the rat didn't see. Hello. Oh, that guy. Yeah. Okay. Oh, boy. The betting line was the reason, Phil. Come on. The betting line was the reason? They wouldn't have changed the betting line. The Saints had already covered. Even if they don't score there, the Saints had covered already. You got to come up with something better than that. It has nothing to do with gambling. They already covered. They score a touchdown. They don't score a touchdown. The spread was 7.5. They covered already. Corey, go back and watch it again. You're wrong. It did not stop for 2 seconds, stopped for 4 seconds. It was actually closer to 5. When I didn't know about this, so I came home and watched the replay on my own TV with a stopwatch. It was over 4 seconds. He spiked it with 3 seconds left. Exactly. 4 minus 3. You can do the math. Ray says should have kicked the extra point. Chris says we need cap relief and draft picks, new blood. Well, there's no doubt about that. Joe Hamilton says Carr is unhealthy and old. First of all, he's not old. He's nowhere near old. He's 33. That's not even kind of old for a quarterback. That's like right in the middle. Maybe a little bit on the older side of middle. It's not even kind of old. What are you talking about? He's unhealthy right at this moment. But I keep getting all this crap from you people, and I got to get into the dime. But I keep getting all this crap about you people who say Carr can't stay healthy. Again, you need to bring receipts, okay? If you're going to talk on the show, don't just say BS that isn't true, okay? And I don't want to spend 10 more seconds of the show defending Derek Carr, but I'm going to say this and then I'm going to let it go. How many games Derek Carr missed in his entire career, 11-year career, due to injury? You know the answer? Including this season? Including this season. Do you know the answer? Including yesterday. Know the answer? 7. 7. In 11 years. It was 7 games. But y'all want to hate. We're not doing that today. Yeah, I'm telling you what, I had so many people text me yesterday. These Rattler lovers are going to piss you off. No, they're not. Nobody's going to piss me off today. My blood pressure is going to stay low. All right, let's get into the dime. Come back to the comments in a moment. I know. You know what? Before we get to the dime, there's a couple things I want to talk about. Let me continue the story about our friends at Evangeline Securities and the company that only goes for 2 when they know they're going to make it. They are also a company you should get in touch with when you're trying to figure out if it's the right time to sell your family-run or privately held business. You know that. What better Christmas present is there to give yourself than to have the number one question answered for you, and that is, how much is my business worth? Get in touch with Evangeline's founding and managing partners, Nick Braden and Ron Hemelt, so they can help you get the ball rolling. I mean, they're not going to miss a guy wide open in the back of the end zone. They get the ball rolling by scheduling a complimentary evaluation, say that 10 times fast, from their offices on Poydras Street. They also have an office on Lafayette Street. And not Lafayette Street, that's in Gretna. They also have an office in Lafayette, if that better serves your need. More on this later in the show, but in the meantime, you can check them out at www.evangelinesecurities.com. First of all, again, we're going to get into the wrap, but I want to make something very clear. And I know a lot of you you expected me to just I think a lot of you probably expect me to come on here and tell you that Spencer Rattler played like crap, and I'm going to just go off and tell you Haener didn't get a chance. No. I'm going to make my feelings clear so you don't waste any keystrokes coming at me. There's no question that Spencer Rattler was better than Jake Haener yesterday. There's also no question, and this is not the dime yet, but there's also no question that Spencer Rattler should and will be the starter going forward the remainder of the season as long as Derek Carr is out, which I still assume is the remainder of the season, although there appears to be some doubt on that. I know that he wants to play against the Raiders. I don't know why he would be willing a much greater injury, but whatever. It's a different story for another show coming up. However, not only is the difference between the two, again, Spencer Rattler was better. Spencer Rattler deserves to start Monday night against the Green Bay Packers. But not only is the difference between the two highly exaggerated, and I will play a clip from Darren Rizzi in a little bit who says as much. He tells you from the horse's mouth, tells you all the things that went wrong for Jake Haener. But we can debate that or whatever you want to debate. There's still no question. I have not backed off of my opinion that neither one of these guys, and I said it last week, I said it didn't matter who started, it didn't matter who played. And I have not changed my opinion on this, that neither one of these guys are NFL quarterbacks. I don't want either one of these guys leading my quote-unquote favorite franchise. Because Rattler scored 19 points in the second half against a mediocre defense. 6 of those after the clock should have expired. We touched on it. We'll talk about it again. Doesn't change my opinion on him. The good news is for those of you who think he's the next Patrick Mahomes, and although there are fewer of you out there than a few months ago, but still some nevertheless, you'll probably get to see a lot of them going forward. Charles says Rattler showed a little promise. Absolutely. He did show a little promise. He was definitely better than Jake Haener. And the team responded to him. We're going to get into that in a minute. We're going to get into all that stuff. Rocky says Rat has more potential, but nowhere near Redding. I mean, potential. What does that even mean? Potential to do what? He still hasn't. Here's the thing here's the biggest problem I have with Spencer Rattler. And again, I don't want this to be a whole Spencer Rattler show because my dime is mostly on Rizzi and the things that this franchise needs to do. If you're talking long term and what you want out of this franchise, okay? Here's the problem I have with Spencer Rattler. Not that he can't make plays, because he can make plays. The problem I have with Darren Rizzi is a similar problem that a lot of people had with Jameis Winston. And it's his vision. I mean, there are things he just doesn't see on a football field. Will that get better? I don't see how that gets better. You either have that or you don't. Not saying it can't get better, but it's probably not going to get all that much better. If you can't read now, you're probably not going to be able to read later. The 2-point conversion play is a perfect example. Austin was wide open. Go watch the play again. He was already determined he was throwing that to Juwan Johnson. They were all over it. The Commanders were all over it. He loops the ball to Austin. It's 2 points. My opinion doesn't count, says Aaron Smith. Then why are you here? If my opinion doesn't count, then see you later. It does count. Yours counts too. Well, that's why we're talking about this. As we're talking about this today, together. You have an opinion, I have one. I mean, I don't have a problem with your opinion. You're certainly entitled to it. Because I don't agree with you doesn't mean that our opinions don't count. Dude, take a hike. Anyway, let's get into the dime. We're going to get back to Spencer Rattler. Again, I want you to hear from Rizzi on Haener. I want you to hear from Rizzi on Rattler. I want you to hear from Rizzi on the 2-point conversion attempt. And I also want you to hear from Spencer Rattler himself. Because I thought, look, I'm gonna say what some of you Rattler supporters were saying last week when we were talking about the potential and what was going to happen. What were a lot of you saying that love Spencer Rattler? You saying the last time that he came out and started that he was playing without an offensive line. He was playing without a lot of the weapons that the Saints have today. That's absolutely true. So in your defense, I'm going to say you were right about that. He certainly showed more this time with the starting offensive line than he showed in those 3 games he played without it. Does that mean long-term? And look, this line isn't very good either, to be honest. I mean, it's certainly better than the line he had to play with before. So I'm defending him in that I'm defending Spencer Rattler and the fact that he hasn't had a chance to play with a real offensive line. But that's not my problem. My problem is that he misses wide open. There were a couple times yesterday where he got himself into trouble, could have ran out of it, and I don't know if this is something that's been instilled in him and they've told him not to run, but there were times when he didn't run, and I thought he could have easily picked up first downs a couple of times. There were a couple of times when he gets the ball and he's like looking at that first read, and meanwhile, read number 2 or 3 is wide open on the other side, and he missed it. For the most part, I'm going to defend him here as well. I thought he's been way more accurate wherever he's going with the ball, I think he's way more accurate than I originally gave him credit for. But in the grand scheme of things, there's just things that bother me about what I see in the overall performance. Again, things we'll talk about. But I want to get in my dime, and I want to talk about Rizzi. Okay? Way more important than whether Spencer Rattler is going to be a backup quarterback. He's not. Look, let's get real. Okay? Anybody thinks Spencer Rattler is going to be the starting quarterback for this team for an extended period of time, it's not going to happen. And if it does happen, then this franchise is in a whole bigger world of hurt than they are right now. Okay, sorry. That's just the way that I say it. That's what I'm paid to do and give my opinion on this show, whether it matters or not. But I want to talk about Darren Rizzi for a minute, okay? And Hakeem, who's out there, Hakeem Batista, thank you for being a part of the Dattitude family. I know we don't agree on a lot of things, but you're proof that you can watch this show and have for entertainment purposes, and we can talk to one another respectfully, whether we agree or not agree. But Hakeem came on the Saints Insider show, and we were talking about Darren Rizzi. And I wasn't necessarily talking about it with Hakeem, but I was talking about this on the show. And I think yesterday was, I said he disqualified himself last week against the Giants. I think yesterday was another perfect example. Before I share my thoughts on the specifics of Sunday's game, and I spend part of it explaining why I'm emphatic about why I think Darren Rizzi should not be considered for leading this franchise long term, I will say, again, I'm going to defend him as well. I will say his brand of football is at least fun. And there's no question that fun sure beats the crap out of what we've witnessed over the previous couple of seasons and a half. Even after a disastrous offensive 30 minutes of football where the Saints offensive line decided they apparently also found out they had vacation they didn't want to leave on the table, like a podcast host, and a receiving corps that apparently couldn't get the butter wiped off their hands from breakfast, they had a sense of renewal about them in the third quarter. Maybe they wanted Spencer Rattler in there as much as many of you did. They certainly played that way. As uninspired as the offense was in the first half, it was exactly the opposite in the second stanza. Rattler came in, and while his numbers prove he wasn't nearly as good as many of you will say he was, we see it there on the screen, 10 of 21 for 135 yards and a touchdown. He certainly was more entertaining, and the team responded. Alvin Kamara made not only the catch of the season for a touchdown, but one of the greatest catches I've seen in team history. We'll talk more about the defense later, but they were amazing. Clearly their best performance of the season. Who had Cam Jordan and Chase Young with multiple sacks in one game? You could have made a lot of money had you bet on that. All of that is great. Football is fun to watch in New Orleans again for the most part. Of course, we're not counting the Giants game last week, which might have been as painstaking as any other since the Ditka era. All that being said, even in moments of entertaining football, we have been shown once again why this team needs to be dismantled. It's why many of these players should be shown the door over the course of the next couple seasons. It's why there needs to be a shakeup at the top. And it's why Darren Rizzi needs to hand back the keys to game day to someone else. It's not just because the decision to go for two, but it's as much because there was no decision to make at all. The decision to go for two is kind of an icon, if you will, of what's going on in Darren Rizzi's mind and why I believe he can't be a head coach in the National Football League, at least not for this team. This is what he's going to decide to do 10 times out of 10, no matter the circumstance of the game. And it will be made the same way with other quote-unquote decisions to be made. While watching a coach lead a team as if he's playing Madden football can sometimes be fun, it can also be, well, maddening. I get it. This is the way most new school coaches like to do it. And I know a lot of you don't want to hear this and won't agree with me, but just because something is an old school way of doing something, doesn't mean it's the wrong way of thinking. Sometimes when you have a chance to go for two and win the game, it's the right move. What absolutely is the wrong move is automatically saying we're going for two. Rizzi told you he had his mind made up before the touchdown was scored. He had his mind made up long before that, like last week, like a year ago, like probably when he had his first gig as a graduate assistant at Colgate in 1993. That's who he is. Again, it's fine at times, but it shouldn't be a foregone conclusion that we're going to go and win the game. There are other ways to win the game, not for Darren Rizzi.
We needed one more play, and unfortunately, we dug too big of a hole there in the first half. We dug a 14-point deficit. So, listen, when I took this job on my first day, I told everybody that we weren't going to lack passion, and we weren't going to lack fight, and we weren't going to be boring to watch. And I've never seen a group in there fight harder, be more passionate, and certainly that was an exciting second half of football. Listen, I'm not going to sit here and tell you it was predetermined before the game. I just felt like the way the game played out. AK had gone out. He was out for the game. MVS got banged up. We started to lose more offensive weapons. You guys felt the momentum shift there at the end. Listen, I don't regret it whatsoever. I don't think the players regret it. They're all in favor of it. And so I just thought it was the right thing. We managed the clock very well there at the end. I thought Kendra, Miller ran the ball really well there in the 2 minute, except for maybe the one play, which we didn't block great. We completed that ball to Foster. We got the ball clocked. We got the touchdown. We left no time on the clock for Washington and Jayden Daniels. That was the plan. And I just felt, we talked during the drive if we liked our 2-point plays and all that. So when we scored, there was no doubt in my mind we were going to go for 2 and go for the win.
Except they didn't manage the clock all that well because they decided to run the ball one extra time and lost like 20 seconds. But who's counting? In other words, there was no thought process involved there at the end. They was not trying to figure out if going for the win in this particular situation was the right move or not. What was right last week or the week before isn't necessarily the right move today. And there's no correct way to judge the right move for next week until, next week. A couple of games ago against the Rams, Rizzi was close to being in the same situation and said he had already made up his mind to go for the win. Considering the Saints defense that day was having a rough outing, that probably would have been the right move on that particular day. However, yesterday versus the Commanders, the Saints defensive line was a wrecking crew, collecting 8 sacks for just the 9th time in team history. Oh, by the way, all of the previous 8 times that it happened, the Saints won. Had they kicked the extra point on Sunday, they would have had an excellent chance to win this one. Probably much better than the quote-unquote 50-50 at best shot they had with a rookie quarterback making his 4th NFL appearance. Go ahead. Get fired up about the second half yesterday. Get fired up about Spencer Rattler. Get fired up about Darren Rizzi if you so choose. Mostly remain fired up that Dennis Allen is no longer here. But don't forget the state of this franchise. They're 5-9. They're on an icy road to 5-12 or 6-11, and things need to change. Lots of things need to change. Maybe everything. And that's the only decision that should be well known going into a game or an upcoming offseason. And that's my dime. You can love going for 2, and I can't wait to hear it. And we're going to go through some of these comments and talk about it. Doesn't matter if you have, it doesn't take balls to go for 2. I saw a couple people say that in here. It doesn't take, guts to go for 2. Because honestly, most people these days, especially, not like maybe 10 or 15 years ago, that's what most people want to see. They think it's fun. Doesn't matter if it's the right decision. You're not going to get chastised if you go for 2, because people want you to go for 2. Ray says they play hard for a Rizzi. I have to admit that I do. I do admit that. I do admit that they play hard for Rizzi. That doesn't mean he's the right decision to go for 2. I mean, the right decision to be coach. Apathy. 8 sacks and you still lost. You're supposed to win a game with 8 sacks. I just told you. It had only happened 8 times previously in Saints history. They won all 8 before yesterday. Black Preacher Man says, salute. How about that Hainer guy? You still he's better than Rattler? Did you listen to my opening? We're going to get more to that in a minute, but did you listen to the open? If not, when we're done, you can go back and check it out. But we're going to get to that. The team definitely played The offense, not the team. The defense was fantastic the whole game. I don't know where that effort came from this defense, but I mean, you could argue that that's the best they played all year. I mean, the only other one that's really kind of close for me, you can go to the first two games when I don't even know where that came from. And you could even kind of say Philadelphia until the very end, because I thought they played excellent against Philadelphia until the very end. I don't know. I'm going to get back to the quarterback part of it. Jeff says Rizzi is a good interim coach. I would aim higher. You have to aim higher. You can't just say this guy can lead this franchise on a permanent basis because he's fired up. He gets fired up and he fires the team up. I'm going to say this again. The Saints aren't smarter than any other team. I like to say they're not smarter than a fifth grader. They're not smarter than the 31 other teams. And in that, you look at the history of interim coaches, and we brought this up many times before in the show. If you knew, I'll bring it up again. But what am I going to say? This century, which is now a quarter century old, just about close to it. It will be in a couple weeks. It'll be a quarter century old. This century, there has not been not a single interim coach who kept his job with his team that has been worth snot. Not a single one. Why would Rizzi be any different? Adam, I appreciate you taking up on me, man. It's all good. When you have a show, you expect to get people to, it is what it is. Apathy says Dan Campbell onside kick, 10 minutes left in the fourth quarter. Bills player recovers and takes him to that red zone. Yeah. That's my problem with this type of coaching. It doesn't work. Who's going to go to the Super Bowl? We're going to find out. Who's going to play here in New Orleans? But the best teams don't always win because of coaching. Again, I'll make the argument, and we're all over the place, I know, but I'm comparing Rizzi to Dan Campbell because I think he's probably a lot like Dan Campbell. Dan Campbell is being very successful because he surrounded himself with excellent assistants. Saints don't have that. Could Rizzi be successful here in New Orleans if he had excellent assistants around him? I don't know, but I don't know how many other ways to say this. This team needs to wipe its history, wipe the slate of history clean. As of about going for two yesterday. Ovide says we had a better chance of winning and went to overtime. Defense was playing and we were moving the ball. That's what I don't understand what he says. Okay. When Rizzi talks about all the reasons why he went for, he's full of crap. He had already made up his mind that he was going for two. Again, if you would have asked him before the game even started, I'm not going to give you any scenario. Okay. Darren Rizzi, I'm not giving you any scenario, but you just scored a touchdown and you're 1 point down. Are you going for two or are you kicking the extra point? He's not going to ask you any scenario. He's going to tell you I'm going for the win. Again, sometimes it's the right decision and sometimes it isn't. Yesterday, what we just said here and Ovide said is a perfect example of why yesterday was not the right time to go for two. The Saints defense had only allowed 6 points to the Commanders in the entire second half, and it basically shut Jayden Daniels down. It wasn't the right time to go for two. You kicked the extra point. Your offense was moving the ball. You scored 19 points in the second half. You outscored them 19-6. Why would that be the right time to go for two in the win? Someone explain to me. Hector says we would have lost in overtime. Players were dropping like flies. Get out of here. Players weren't dropping like flies. That's an excuse. That's a bunch of BS. They played the entire last quarter and a half without Kamara. After he made that great catch for a touchdown, he was pretty much gone. Kendra Miller, you see his stats on here. 9 carries, 46 yards. Thought he did okay. You can't agree with me about Rizzi. That's okay. Considering when DA and Looney Loomis messed up the team, he did a lot with nothing to work with. I don't even deny that, Hector. I'm not saying you're wrong about he's done a lot with nothing, but a lot of it was on inspiration. And I'll go back to last week. The Saints were playing a Giants team, and for the second straight week, I thought played uninspired football. Coming off of their bye against the Rams, they didn't play inspired. And then they go play the unquestionable, in my mind, there's no doubt the Giants are the worst team in football right now. And will end the season as the worst team in football. They needed a gift from the gods. The football gods parted the ways, parted the Red Sea, and allowed Rizzi to come in and block the field goal so we didn't have to watch any more of that game, and it went to overtime. I'm just saying. John says he disagrees with my Don. Saints won the ropes all day. Agrees with the call to go for 2. Riz took a chance to steal the game. It's okay if you don't agree with me. I'm explaining to you why you're wrong. Sean, just like Dan Campbell with a dumb onside kick with almost an entire quarter left. Exactly. I mean, I wasn't going to bring that up until later. But that style of coaching doesn't work in the long run. It's fun to watch. I get it. I get that it's fun to watch. If I don't care about a team going forward, I don't know. I still I just laugh and say, you big dummy, like I did yesterday when I got home and was able to watch second half of the late games. And I just said, you big dummy. It's not my team. I don't care if you screw it up. Charles Schulman, complete overhaul. Brian's talking about Spencer. Somebody's going to explain to me, again, if you want to get back to him, we can. He was below 50% completing his passes. And look, and we'll get back to Spencer versus Haener. And Preacher Man, going back to kind of what I was saying to start the show. There's no question, and I'll repeat myself for those of you who want to hear earlier. There's no question that Rattler was better than Haener yesterday. I've qualified this show with that. I think that Rattler absolutely deserves to start Monday night at Green Bay. Good luck with that. However, you people that just are going to hate on Haener because you want to hate on Haener, I'm going to let the coach in his own words, 44-second clip. I'll let the coach tell you in his own words what I would have said had he not said exactly what I would say. And listen to why. First of all, the team played differently for Rattler. Again, it could be buried in the brain somewhere that they want Rattler and but where was the offensive line in the first half? It was embarrassing how bad they were. Whatever it is, there were other problems too, like drop passes and long plays that got called back. Again, 44 seconds. We'll let Rizzi tell you himself.
Yeah, listen, I think Jake's first half comes down to a couple of plays. One, he completes that third down ball to Cedric for a big play, and we're gonna have really good field position, and he gets called back for holding. And that was a huge swing because we got sacked on the next play. So you guys can look it up. But that's like a 40-yard plus swing in the game, and that might change the whole entire half for Jake. And then he had another great throw to MVS. And listen, MVS had a phenomenal game, but MVS drops that over ball that's kind of on the run. And so you take those two plays, and if we don't get a holding call, which was suspect, and then if we complete that ball, we might be having a different conversation.
Yeah, I mean, they played differently. They didn't drop those balls in the second half. They didn't have the big penalty bite them in the butt. Again, it could be in the back of it. I think there's a very decent chance that the players want Rattler. Douglas, I agree with you. Or at least the first part I read before I showed this, but I trust you. You're a regular, so I know this comment's going to be fun. When the team gets the fans involved in a game, the fans then send the same energy to the team. Yesterday, they involved the fans, and to be honest, that's what Rattler did, and the fans try to reward him the same. I don't disagree with that at all. There is no question. Look, being there and being at when Spencer Rattler came in, there was a different feeling in the Superdome. No doubt about it. Now, there were a lot of Commanders fans there, or at least a lot of Jayden Daniels fans there. But All that being said, and no, you don't have to be sorry, preacher man. We're good. I will tell you this. There was definitely a different vibe, not just among the fans, just period. So from that aspect, I get it. But that doesn't last forever, you know? If somebody can't read a defense and has trouble, it's you know. Apathy says you have Carr for one more season. You better hire a guy who's a proven record of quarterback development and go find a guy after next season that fits your system, whether a free agent or rookie. That's what I've been screaming. I defend Derek Carr on the show, but I've told you many times, and I'll say it again. I don't think that Derek Carr is the future. I know that Derek Carr isn't the future for this franchise. I know that. But you have to find a quarterback. The quarterback of the future is not on this roster. Be realistic. It isn't Derek Carr. It isn't Jake Haener. It isn't Spencer Rattler. Not if you want to win, it isn't. Scott Hartman says, 41 minutes, that defense was on the field. Daniels missed wide open receiver twice in the second half. That would have made all this a non-issue. Jayden Daniels also made some incredible plays. That I'll say this about Jayden Daniels, because I thought, honestly, last week when I was thinking about what this show would end up being about, because I thought the Saints would get blown out. I thought we would probably spend a lot of the show today talking about Jayden Daniels. And look, if you went to the game yesterday, I know the Commanders only scored 20 points, but he didn't disappoint. Here's the reason why. If I were starting an NFL franchise and I said I could pick any player I wanted to start my franchise right now, I would have to seriously consider Jayden Daniels. I'm not saying he's the best quarterback in the NFL right now, but I'm saying the fact that he's a rookie and his slate is clean and has a long time to go, I don't know that there's a more exciting rookie than Jayden Daniels or someone that young. I hear you. Those are the reasons. I get it. But, I mean, let's go back to some of the clock stuff, too. Again, go back and watch it. I'm telling you right now. I did not realize this until I read this on ESPN. So I'll give Cat Terrell on ESPN full credit. I did not see this. I did not know. By the way, Dan Quinn just goes to show that there is no lead safe when Dan Quinn is your coach, right? I mean, do we need to bring up 28-3 again? There is no lead safe when Dan Quinn is your coach. They better find a real coach, the Commanders, if they want to be legit contenders. I'm just saying. Because I mean, they have the capability of being a legit contender soon. They better find a real coach. That's a whole different story. That was crazy. But go back and if you got the game on DVR, you can probably find it somewhere on YouTube. Okay. Saints caught multiple. And not just so, I'm not just talking about the vibe that we were talking about earlier, that Douglas was talking about earlier. It's not just the vibe that the fans gave. Rattler got a ton of breaks. 3 huge breaks that I can tell you right now. 2 roughing the passer calls that I thought were completely bogus. I thought they were terrible flags. If I were a Commanders fan, I would have been hugely pissed. But the big one, the main one, was go back and watch it, and I'm telling you, you might not agree with me. I'm just telling you the way that it is. The Saints caught a huge break. I said it earlier. I'm going to say it again. 9 seconds to go. When Morrow goes down, the official comes in. Watch the side judge coming in from the right on your screen. If you're watching it from behind, it's from the right. And he comes in and he's waving his hands to stop the clock. The clock stopped for over 4 seconds. And he spiked the ball with 3. Means he shouldn't have got a playoff. Would we be feeling the same way? Probably. We probably have the same similar kind of show. I wouldn't have spent Derry's dime talking about going for 2. Mike Pitt says, completely agrees with me. We're moving the ball and a roll had the game at that point. Could have beat them in OT 1,000%. Hector, the question is Clint Kubiak overrated? He gets a mulligan for what he has to work with. I mean, I think he's overrated. Yes. there are times, I mean, overrated is a harsh word because sometimes it can mean things. It means something different for different people, right? If you said Tom Brady was overrated, whether you believe that or not, I'm just using this as an example, that doesn't mean that you could still have Tom Brady. Tom Brady could still be the greatest quarterback of all time, which in my opinion, he isn't. That's a whole nother story. But you could still be overrated. You could say LeBron James is overrated. Doesn't mean he's not one of the best players of all time. So there are different ways to look at overrated. I have a hard time with that word. But for what I expected Clint Kubiak to do, he was great in the beginning, but he kind of used all of his bag of his trick, all the tricks in his bag, I should say. They went on the losing streak. I thought the Saints were El Stinko, vanilla. Then they got fired up again when Dennis Allen was gone. He got to rejuvenate this offense a little bit. They got better briefly. And then they stunk last week, and they were just okay yesterday. So there are different moments. I don't like the consistency of this offense. Sometimes they're pretty good. Again, your point of what he's had to do things with, does he get a mulligan? I don't know if he's going to get a mulligan because there's a new coaching staff, which I sure hope there is. I don't think he's going to be part of that. I don't know. Charles Mangus, defensive coordinator, called a great game. Proved how you can beat Daniels. Look, you sacked that dude 8 times. That's incredible. I know Randall couldn't go the whole show. You've been back there the whole time. I don't know how you had that much patience in you to last this long without typing something bad about Carr in. Well, that's not really bad about Carr. You and I Randall and I, all full disclosure, we had some messages to each other. Very nice, by the way. Messages about Rattler and all the Saints quarterback issues yesterday. He says, with all honesty, doesn't matter who starts a quarterback, the Saints aren't winning even with Carr in the center. Probably right anyway. Not this week. Jumping ahead of myself with the Saints, if you can't see the screen, or if you're just listening live and you don't look at the screen, which I don't blame you because it's the full screen of me for the most part. But the Saints are 13.5-point underdogs at Green Bay next week as of this morning. I put up a story on bet.nola.com and on nola.com/Saints. How long, if you have, and you probably haven't seen it, how long do you think it has been since the Saints have been underdogs of at least 13.5 points? I will tell you this. Most of you probably don't remember the game it happened in. And there are multiple Saints who weren't born yet. It happened in 2000. It's the last time it happened. The Saints were 13.5 points underdogs. Happened against the Rams. Saints actually won the game 31-24 in November of 2000. Talking almost a quarter century ago. It's insane. It's insane. Preacher Man says, thanks for admitting there is no hate for Hainer. I don't have any hate for anybody, man. I can't think of anyone that I mean, there are people in sports that I really don't like, I guess. There are people in sports that sometimes, I mean, it's human nature, right? I guess there are people in sports that I sometimes root against. Very few. I can't think of anybody that I hate. I don't know. Wall Crawford, Rattler missed Austin in the back of the end zone and 2 points. Yeah, we talked about that. Absolutely. But that doesn't mean he wasn't better than Hainer because he was. I mean, come on. Again, I know I'm behind on some of these comments. Some of these are I'm moving along as I can. These are from 7 minutes ago. Taylor Miller says there was one play where Rattler rolled out and threw a jump pass to Morrow. That play alone should have told you the Saints who they need to start from here on out just to see what we have. Huh? Because he threw a jump pass? Look, I'm going to tell y'all this, and I know y'all not going to believe. There are a lot of you that won't believe me. Oh, I certainly won't agree. Not believe isn't the right word. Isn't I don't know how to. I don't really think that Rattler is all that much more athletic than Hainer. I don't think there's that much of a difference between. I think you are too critical on Haener, then I don't think he's any good. UBN was yelling at the TV. Why is it? I was yelling in the press box. I'm like, and I was nudging Zach. I'm like, why is the clock stop? Why? I had to put it this way. This is how long it was. I could tell you this is exactly how it happened. I'm watching the clock. I noticed the clock didn't tick, so it was a full second before I even said that. I nudged Zach and said, why is the clock stop? He looks up. I'm like, why is the clock stop? I look at Ross Jackson. Why is the clock stop? And then it started again. So how long is that? Just saying. Oh, boy. Marcus Molden says, we want to cross the 43-yard. I think he says didn't cross the 43-yard line in the first half. Went back to 30. Hadn't lost 30 yards. Could have made a difference. Had a little bit. Look, Marcus, and I think that a lot of you will agree if you think about this legitimately and not just through the glasses that you want to see this through. But Rizzi told you. Rizzi told you that, I mean, Haener kind of got hosed. And look, there's no question, again, whether the line blocked differently, the schemes were different or whatever it was, and it's not because Rattler is more athletic and got out of it. The protection was definitely different. But Haener would get the ball, and there were multiple times when I'm telling you, as he's grabbing the ball, he's getting hit. And I'm talking about from the snap. From the snap. It is just nasty. Jason, I think, defending Haener, says, how well did Rattler play in his first start? It's okay for a quarter. Jay Tucker Rafferty says, the problem lies in your offensive line. They are too inconsistent. Great play call. Great play-by-play for the Shark game. Thank you. I'm pretty excited about that. Again. All right, I'm going to try to move on. I hate to skip some of these comments. Rattler does have the better arm. Maybe. I'm not going to say he doesn't. But I'll say this. Go back to, again, I keep pointing out this game. First of all, there was a throw yesterday that was about 35 yards on a dime that MVS just dropped right in his hands. Rizzi talked about that. Then there's another play. If you go back, I made a joke about this back in August or whatever. My son, who loves him some Rattler, talking about dogging on Haener's arm, and I'm not kidding. As soon as he dogged on Haener, it was barely out of his mouth. Haener gets a snap and throws it 60 yards on a dime. I think it was against Arizona, if I remember. Ovide, you know what? I'm going to take up for Penning here. Penning was sucking bad in the first half. Haener didn't have time. Most of those were Morrow's fault. I got to give Penning. I'm not going to criticize someone just because I think they stink. Okay? And everyone knows what I think about Penning. I actually thought Penning might be the most improved player on the offense. I got to give him credit. He's played way better than I thought he could play. Haener drops back too far. He does it to himself. You could be right about that, Ray. He does drop back too far. I agree with that. Rayfield Grant asked, on the last play, why didn't they run a play to the wild side of the field? At least it would have given the wide receivers or the tight end more space. Good question. But, again, on that play, and I'm assuming you mean in the 2-point play, Austin was literally standing there, hey, I'm nobody's home. I'm eating a sandwich. We'll win the game. Just throw it to me. I don't know. MVS can only catch passes from Carr. He caught passes from Rattler. I think he had 2 catches for 60-something yards. Jay says he agrees about Penning. Randall agrees about Penning. Look, again, I was dissing on Penning all offseason. Dissed on him. I don't think there's anybody I've probably dissed on more than Trevor Penning. Maybe in the 4 years of this show. He's gotten better. Is he serviceable? I don't know, because after next year, at least you have, I guess I'm okay going forward. Look, next year is going to be El Stinko anyway. I don't know what to do with Penning, to be honest, because I still believe that they need to go O-line 1. Right off the bat, O-line 1. Wait, Rocky says it may have been a late bloomer. He's looked good. I'm not going to go as far to say that he's looked good, but he's way better than I expected. Okay. Ray says, you don't roll Rattler out in the 2-point play. He only had one option. If he drops back, sees Austin. Maybe Ray, they didn't trust the O-line because I don't know. Charles, going to see us Wednesday. He's got to run. We'll see you on Wednesday. That'll be last show of the week, by the way. All right. I want to bring in Gabe. We're going to have Mondays with Gabe here. Gabe's got other things going on, but there are some things he wants to talk about as well. And we're going to continue our Mano E Monday as we go along here. Gabe Henderson, what's up? How about them Houston Texans?
How about the Texans, AFC South champs?
Yeah, and the breaks just keep on coming for the Texans as they might get to play Kansas City without Patrick Mahomes, but that's a whole different story.
Well, I wouldn't say the breaks keep on coming. I would say it's one of the first breaks we get all season.
All right. What you got?
Well, I wanted to talk about the Saints' upcoming game against the Packers. And do you know the real reason that the Saints aren't going to win that game, Jim?
Because they're not nearly as good and they don't play well in 20-something degree temperatures? I don't know.
No, I have a more fun explanation.
Oh,
because Toyotathon doesn't end for another few weeks. Have you seen the stats for Jordan Love during Toyotathon?
No, as we give Toyota a free plug, but go ahead. No.
So during the Toyotathon sales event, Jordan Love has been significantly better. These are his stats in his career, not during Toyotathon. 3,800 yards, 29 touchdowns, 25 interceptions.
How many touchdowns? How many interceptions?
29 touchdowns, 25 interceptions. That's
Jordan Love?
That's without Toyotathon.
Oh, okay.
But as soon as Toyotathon begins, Jordan Love, 3,200 yards, 26 touchdowns, 2 interceptions.
Wow. Well, he's a big Tundra fan then, I guess.
It's got nothing to do with the fact that it's later in the season.
Lance says you're killing him. I mean, you couldn't wait to talk about Toyotathon?
It's the theory.
Okay, well.
And Toyotathon, for those interested, it ends on January 6th, 2025. So just wait until after that, and Jordan Love will turn back into a pumpkin, as you would
say. I disagree.
No, I also disagree. He's fantastic. But he's for whatever reason, he's significantly better during Toyota.
I mean, does he drive a Toyota? Uncle Big Nick wants to know.
I don't know what he drives.
Lance wants to know what you drive. I
drive a Jeep.
Okay. Well, of course you do. You're 20-something.
I don't drive one of those Jeeps.
Okay.
I drive a Cherokee.
Ray's already making his prediction. He says, shocker, Saints beat Green Bay by 6. Ray, whatever you're smoking, I'm not allowed to smoke it probably. We have rules here at this company, but I'd certainly think about it. I'm just saying. John Fonseca says Haener did drop back deep too much, but Rattler also had 3 prior starts to make adjustments to his game. Haener has it. Look, I'm not going to complain about the switch, but I guess I am going to complain a little bit. Here's what I don't understand, and this is in Haener's defense. I don't understand why the Saints decided at halftime. Well, I get why, but we watched Haener and we watched Rattler play some really bad football, like a couple times. And I know it's a different coach now, but the Denver game comes to mind where he was horrendous in the first half. And I'm like, okay, they're going to make a switch and put Haener in. They didn't make a switch then. So why wouldn't you give Haener a whole game to figure out if he can play or not? I don't know. I just thought so many things. It wasn't like he was 4 of 10. Yeah, that stinks. But Spencer Rattler was 10 of 21. Big deal. But why wouldn't you give Haener a whole game as well? I still think that's kind of unfair. Although Spencer Rattler proved that, hey, he was better.
Say it with me, Jim. It doesn't matter.
No, it really doesn't. It doesn't matter.
It really doesn't.
Ray's going to eat crow if he's wrong. You're going to eat. You've been completely well.
You
Congratulations.
better pre-order your crow.
And I apologize for. I'm completely making fun, by the way, when I say whatever you're smoking. You've been completely sober for 9 months. Congratulations on that, because that ain't easy. So congratulations for that. And you can eat. Who knows? Maybe we'll have a po' boy together on this show. Maybe. Who knows?
So
go ahead.
it must have been a great weekend for you. All things considered.
It was fun.
You had all of the people that you hate. So there's obviously earlier you said you don't hate anyone.
I don't hate anyone.
But one thing that I love to do.
Maybe I do. I don't know.
Yeah, well, one thing that I love to do especially, and I know I've talked about it before. I love to hate watch. I love to just takes that I have. I love to watch those people prove me right. And it was a big weekend for hate watching for you. Between Dan Campbell, I don't know if you saw what the Colts did yesterday.
Oh yeah,
with Anthony Richardson.
I saw it.
Anthony Richardson's career completion percentage is now down to 47%.
But I also saw what their super stud, mega million running back did too.
I saw someone earlier say that when running backs or when players have a clear path to the end zone, we need to stop reviewing those plays, which is just the dumbest thing that I've ever heard.
Why would
because
then can he just kneel down at the 15?
Yeah, I don't.
That's absurd.
It's a crazy thing. Why in 2024? How about
you just hold on to the football till you get in the end zone?
Yeah. Why in 2024 are we still doing the Deshaun Jackson and letting go of the ball before the end zone?
All right,
it's absolutely crazy.
Before I let you go, I got to ask you your opinion on, and I'm pretty sure I know the answer.
Okay.
But Dan Campbell, we didn't get into enough. Dan Campbell's little onside kick maneuver with 10 minutes left in the game.
12 minutes.
12 minutes left in the game. He gets his team all the way back in it. They were getting their asses kicked.
Yep.
Okay. They make this great comeback. And then, again, for those of you who don't understand the rules on onside kick, it's not like before. You have to declare that you're going for an onside kick. So he basically says, you know what? I'm going to go for the 2%er here and the onside kick instead of hoping that my team can continue its momentum. And what happens? Buffalo gets the onside kick, returns to the 5, boom, touchdown, next play. Game over, in my opinion.
Yeah. I talked about this with my friends last night, and one of my friends tried to justify it by saying... Of
course they did. They love Dan Campbell.
He tried to justify it by saying, well, Dan Campbell probably thought that they had a better chance of recovering it than their defense did of getting a stop because their defense couldn't get a stop. Which, whatever. But just from a statistics standpoint, and I know you hate stats and analytics, you have a much greater chance of stopping them than you do of recovering the onside.
No, duh.
It just went horribly wrong, and it was a number of comical. I'll say, I know I wasn't here earlier when you guys were talking about Rizzi, and I know you probably hated the decision to go for 2.
Oh yeah,
the one thing that I'll say that wasn't the worst.
But it was the wrong decision.
It wasn't the worst decision he made during that stretch. I think running the ball the second time.
Oh yeah. Well, that was actually like the 4th time
coming off.
He ran it, and I thought it was a couple of good decisions to run the football.
Yeah, I agree.
Because they had time, but when you get down, when you're out of timeouts, okay, or you have one left, and you decide to run it that last time.
Yep.
No, they didn't have any left. They ran it.
No, they didn't have any left when they ran it.
You're running in inside of 30 seconds now. Okay.
Yeah.
The first one was fine because you catch them off guard, and even if it doesn't work, you got plenty of time. But look, you can't do that when you only have 30 seconds left. Okay. Unless if you don't score a touchdown, which you're not going to score a touchdown, you're still going to run 20, 25 seconds on the clock that you really can't afford to do. So I don't know. Just thought it was
one other thing. So it was quite a weekend for referees. Did you, I doubt you did. Did you happen to catch any of Army Navy?
I had it on in the background while I was working on putting a highlights package together, so not really.
You missed
it was on
an all-time moment from Gary Danielson in that game. One of the Navy running backs had taken it to the house for like 30 yards.
Okay.
And he was spiking the ball, and as he was spiking the ball, an Army player was walking toward him. They flagged him for unsportsmanlike conduct.
I did kind of say that.
And Gary Danielson lost his mind in a way that I've never heard him do before. He started screaming. He's like, this is horrendous refereeing. These are lawyers out there, not referees. Get out of the game.
Yeah.
And it was awesome just to hear that. And I completely agree.
I kind of like perked up and looked at it for a moment, but I didn't really care enough. So
it was terrible. He didn't even spike it. He didn't spike it toward the Army player.
Yeah.
It didn't come close to hitting him. It went in the opposite direction. And they still flag. I mean, it's just ridiculous
because
with some referees.
Some officials just want to get they would just want to get their faces on TV. Maybe for that crew, it was the only chance they were going to have to get anyone to ever pay attention to them. Maybe no one, maybe their wives don't even pay attention. Who knows?
So I'll leave you with this parting thought. My friend asked me this the other day when I told him that my best bet was from the Army-Navy game.
Mm-hmm.
It's betting on the Army-Navy game the most unpatriotic or most American thing that you can think of? Neither.
I don't think it's any different than any other game.
I don't know. My friend asked me that, and I was like, I think it's the most patriotic.
Yeah, but Gabe, you're asking the wrong person. I would bet on the number of shrimp that was going to be on my po' boy at Mandeville Seafood if we started having a conversation about it.
Yeah, that's fair.
So, and I'd probably win, by the way. But anyway, we'll talk to you Wednesday for your next best bet because it's the last show of the week. So you got to give me a best bet on Wednesday.
Yeah, sounds good.
All right, see you then.
Bye.
All right, I got some comments here in the meantime. First off, Preacher Man wants to know my opinion. What about Sean Payton? I'm guessing you're asking my opinion. What about Sean Payton? Is he just a winner or what? 9-5 this year with that Denver team. You know what? It's a day of sometimes you're just wrong, or or give the man his due. Like I gave Spencer Rattler his due today for the most part. Got to give Sean Payton his due. I mean, y'all know what regulars know. Not everybody knows. Regulars know that I think Sean Payton is, I don't know. Again, we go back to that word overrated. And overrated always comes off the wrong way, because just because I think someone might be overrated doesn't mean that I think they're not, doesn't mean that I think they're no good. You can be very good and still be overrated. I mean, some people think Bill Belichick, I'm not saying I do or I don't. I'll tell you, I think Bill Belichick's the greatest coach who's ever walked the sideline in the NFL. But some people think that Bill Belichick is overrated. Doesn't mean you don't think that Bill Belichick isn't a great coach. That's my long-winded way of saying I got to give Sean Payton his due. I've often thought, maybe it's because the way he treated us here in the media, or not as much me as other people. But Sean Payton is in the running for coach of the year, and there's a reason why. That team has no business whatsoever being 9-5, to answer your question. I don't think Bo Nix is any good. I still did you watch him in the first half yesterday? Terrible. Phil says Sean is an excellent evaluator of talent. Maybe he is. Maybe he isn't. But I will tell you what Sean Payton is excellent at. And he's always been excellent at this. He's been excellent at finding the right people for his team. They might not be the greatest players. I mean, I had Drew Brees, so that's hard to say. I mean, you're talking about one of the greatest quarterbacks who's ever lived. But Sean Payton has a character mold. Not only do you have to be a great player, but you have to fit into this character mold. And if you don't, you're not going to play for him very long. And I've always said that character is almost not as important, but it's almost as important as athletic talent. As I go verklempt here on this Monday morning. All right, we got about 10 more minutes to get your final comments in. We've got plenty more. I've got about 7 or 8 more comments I see on the screen that I want to show before I go off, and I'm sure I'll have a couple more. But first, we told you earlier we were letting you know more about how Evangeline Securities can help you figure out what your family-run or privately held business might be worth and whether it's time to sell. You got to find that out first. If you're even thinking about selling your business, okay, seriously, I've tried to learn about Evangeline Securities. I want to know about how their business works. Before I read one single ad of theirs on the air, I sat with Nick and Ron, no kidding, twice for more than an hour, both times. I'm trying to learn about what their company does. And if you want to sell, If you're even thinking about it, the first question you have to know is how much is it worth? And then you can go on and make an informed decision after that with their help, I think. How do they get started with that? After their complimentary valuation of your company, if you decide to proceed, native New Orleanians Nick Braden and Ron Hemelt, the aforementioned Nick Braden and Ron Hemelt, and all the folks at Evangeline, they will begin an extensive auction process from among established private equity funds from around the world. And they will maximize the return process for the founder and his or her family. Evangeline Securities is the top producer on their platform. There are very few companies like them in this area. No question about it. Hardly any. And out of all of them, they're the best. Again, I've spent time doing research on this. There's no other company around here who does what they do that has their dedication and success. They are fully licensed and ready to serve you. So get in touch with Nick and Ron about what's really important. Not the debate on Darren Rizzi, not the rat, not Jake Haener, not the Saints' final record or where they're going to pick in the draft. What is really important is the rest of your life. You can find them at www.evangelinesecurities.com. Okay, here we go. Someone who doesn't listen. Okay, look, the good thing about this show, and I had my evaluation, my quote-unquote evaluation, the other day from my boss. And he says, one of the number one things that we have going for us on the show, and it's because of you, the regulars, is the retention rate and the people who come into the stream and stay for long periods of time is better than most shows. We'll just put it that way. It's because we have a great bond between us. We're working on that, right? But sometimes y'all don't listen. I don't know why. I guess maybe it's the teacher in me, because y'all don't know this about me probably, but before I was going to be a sports journalist, which I've done for 34 years. In fact, when I started this gig at the Picayune back in 1990, I was in college to be a teacher. I wanted to be a teacher, and I wanted to coach baseball. So maybe that's the part of me that has problems with people who don't listen. Were you listening to the dime? Did you listen, Randall, when you asked how it's going for two, the wrong decision? The Saints aren't going to the playoffs no matter what happens. You weren't listening. The reason is simple. I'll say it again. It's not about just that one instance. It's proof of who he is and that he had made his mind up, not yesterday in the fourth quarter, not before the game, not during the week. It's who he is. He's going to go for it every time. It doesn't matter that the Saints aren't in playoff contention. It matters none. He would have done it if the Saints were 13-0 and had the same exact game going into yesterday. They were 13-0. And for some unfathomable reason, a 13-0 team has Darren Rizzi as their head coach. He would have done exactly the same team. Why? Because he had already made up his mind that's what he was doing, because that's who he is. And the biggest problem I have with the decision to go for two is not only the decision to go for two, but that you're already made up your mind. You don't care what the situation of the game was. The game situation, again, dictated that you don't go for two in that situation. Your defense had allowed just 6 points in the second half to Jayden Daniels. It wasn't the right time to go for two. Your offense had scored 19 points in the second half. You tie the score. You go into overtime. You let the chips fall where they may. At best, going for two with your starting quarterback is a 50-50 proposition. With a rookie quarterback playing in just his fourth NFL game, it's probably more like 35 to 40% if you want to be realistic. What were your chances to win if you kick the extra point and go into overtime? I'd say it's better than 50%. So if you analytics lovers, I know you have a hard time doing this because you just want to play Madden football and you're always using analytics and it's a 57% chance. If you want to use analytics, you use them all the time. And I'm not using analytics to make this decision. I'm just telling you what numbers probably are. I'm using common sense. Had you stopped them like you did throughout the entire second half. You hadn't allowed a touchdown since the first half. Good chance you're not going to allow a touchdown, even if they win the toss and get the ball first. There's an excellent chance you're not going to allow a touchdown there. Meanwhile, the way your offense had been moving, you love Spencer Rattler. He's doing a great job. Then count on him to go down there and win it in overtime. You don't make a decision based on what your mentality is. Good coaches make decisions based on the moment in time that they're living in. Bill, you got a good point. There's no comments on Lattimore's performance. I didn't even notice he was even, I'm dead serious when I say this. I did not notice Marshawn Lattimore at all until I was looking for whatever page picture we're going to use for this podcast today, and it was this. That is literally the first time I noticed Marshawn Lattimore at all yesterday. That picture. So to answer your question, I didn't notice him. I don't even know if he had any impact whatsoever. Again, this is from a few minutes ago. Lance says, I nailed it. Sean has vision. He knows how to pick players that fit his vision. Yeah, I mean, look, the Saints miss a Sean. I don't mean Sean Payton in particular, but I mean a Sean Payton, a Sean. Whatever. Dattitude, baby. No question about it. Ray says he always enjoys the show. Sometimes he can't be here, but he likes. I like when you're here as well. We don't always agree. There's another one. Ray and I don't always agree. He loves coming back. A-Town says class is being taught by Professor Derry. Can you imagine me as a professor or a teacher of any sort? Kind of scary. Preacher Man says living on the edge in a game is not a good thing for a coach. You make too many irrational decisions. There's no doubt about that. There's really not. There's no doubt about it. Let's see here. Again, I'm about to go off. You know what? I didn't do and I was going to do. So, and we still have time. Let's do it. Before I go off the air here, I have two clips that I didn't play. I'm going to play the first one. It's Rizzi talking about the game itself. And then I'm going to play Spencer Rattler. But this is a 26-second clip from Spencer Rattler. From Darren Rizzi, just 26 seconds. I meant to show this earlier and forgot, but just his overall thoughts on the game itself. And I agree with him on this part of him that the team couldn't have played any harder in the second half.
Obviously, it was a tale of two halves. We did not play the game we wanted to play in the first half. That's a little bit obvious. You know, we had one first down and we had 14 total plays, and that wasn't all on the quarterback. We felt like we needed to make a change there at halftime. We did. Spencer did a great job, came in, provided some spark. But not only that, we played, we only gave up 6 points in the second half, which gave us a chance to win.
Yeah. I mean, that to me, what he just said, he just gave himself the reasons why he should have gone for one. I mean, he laid it out for you. He told you why they should have kicked the extra point. He just told you. He's not capable. Again, I get it. He's only a few games into his interim coaching self. 4 games into it or whatever. 5 games, however many games. I don't even know. I don't care. Doesn't matter. I'll go back to what I said last week. I'm not going to change my mind now because Saints almost won. Remember, the Saints almost won. It means they lost. I'll give Spencer Rattler credit because, again, I think, first of all, he certainly played. Even you talk about the Tampa game when he scored, however many points it was in the one quarter. There's no question that he played the best football he's played so far here in that second half yesterday. You know what? He threw caution to the wind. He just went out there and played. Can he do that going forward? I don't think so, but maybe. Ron Henderson says he would like to see Rattler with all the starters on offense available. I think you're going to see that. What he did yesterday with limited reps in practice and no starting wide receivers was encouraging. But encouraging to, for what? Encouraging for, what do you mean? Do you think that he can be This is what I don't understand. Again, what I said on Saints Insider yesterday and truly believe, I think what Spencer Rattler did yesterday, I think only one of these quarterbacks can be on this roster next year. That's my opinion. And I think what Spencer Rattler did yesterday is give himself an excellent chance. Maybe he won it, maybe he didn't, but I think it's him that's going to be on the roster next year and not Haener. He deserves it. I think you're being facetious, Jason. Give that man a cape. He's Super Rattler now. No. You got to remember the correct name for Spencer Rattler on this show. It's El Señor Rattler. You got to get it right. Silva Gator, I guess, doesn't like it. Dattitude. Man. Hey, man, I'll say it again. I'll give them another chance. If they win the last 3 games, even if they don't go, well, they won't go to the playoffs. They're done. But if they win the last 3 games, I'll call it Dattitude. If he quarterbacks all 12 quarters, the Saints win their last 3 games, I'm not shaving my head or dyeing my head. That's gone. Those days are gone. 0.0, Gabe Henderson. But if they win their last 3 games and finish 8-9, I will call the whatever the show is. Let's see. That would be January 6th. The January 6th show, we will call it Dattitude if that happens. After he says Gail Benson better go find the finest witch doctor in the Congo has to offer and get them to cleanse this bad injury voodoo from both franchises in the offseason. I told y'all, I can't even talk about the Pels. It makes my stomach churn. Jason just wants to win football games. He doesn't care who's at quarterback. Amen. If he can win games, let's go. If he can win, that's what I was saying. You got 3 games to prove. Well, maybe not, because Carr could come back. That was one I didn't show earlier. Someone said, again, like they repeated one from someone else earlier, why bring Carr back? And the answer is because you want to win football games. Although I will say this, I don't think there's any reason whatsoever to bring Carr back, because I think you're only going to make his injury worse. If you were Carr, why would you want to come back? I guess you want to play. I guess he really wants to play against the Raiders. Cannon says, I know we lost, but I think what saves them was that field goal before halftime, looking at a 17-19 Saints win. There was no field goal before halftime. It was 14-0 at the half. Am I wrong? Pretty sure. I don't have the play-by-play in front of me, but I'm pretty certain it was 14-0 at halftime. I'm almost positive. I mean, what saved them was their defense. Just saying. All right, I got a look again. I'm defending Spencer Rattler here today, and I think a lot of things he says, and we're going to go out on this note. When I come back, I'll show a couple more comments, but I have a comment as well on this little clip from the Rat, because he has a valid point in here. I don't even know necessarily that he's even trying to make a point, but he has a valid point inside of this clip. It's 1 minute and 28 seconds. We'll wrap up the show when we come back.
Janoko told me with about 30 seconds left in the second quarter that I'll be going in, so just have to shift my mindset. But I felt prepared from the start of the game, just in case. So no, I wasn't the emergency third this week. I was the backup, so I had to have my mind right. Well, I think we had some more guys in healthy than last time. I think that's big. Eric, Caesar, Lucas, having MVS out there. Kevin, all these guys said, Kendre. AK for most of the game. It was good to have all those guys out there. Defense, same thing. Played lights out, I thought. Kept us in that game, and we were one play away.
When did you know y'all were going for 2?
What's that?
When did you know y'all were going to go for 2 if you scored?
We knew before the drive. We wanted to go down there and win the game. I think that's the mindset our whole team had. I want to say proud of the team because nobody flinched that whole game. At halftime coming out, nobody flinched. We believed that we could come out and go win the game, and we were an inch away. So, got to be proud of that. I mean, yeah, that definitely gives you confidence. but you got to do it over and over. Didn't have any reps with the ones this week, so to be able to go out there and have that connection with them, I think that's big. Just to be able to adjust, to the things going on. So again, it wasn't just me. We got 11 guys on the field, and like Rizzi says, 1/11th. I feel like everybody on the offensive side of the ball, did their 1/11th that second half.
Again, I'm gonna give the Rat credit where he deserves it. I mean, you go back and look, he played some bad football when he got a chance the first time, except for one quarter over the course of 3 games. He's now played 14 quarters. 3 of them were good. 11 of them were really bad. He's got a chance now to erase those 11 quarters, in my opinion. Or I guess not erase them, but prove that those quarters were outliers and that he can improve every game, because I don't think he improved himself over the 3 games that he played. This game was different. And part of the reason why it was different is because he had the starters in there with him, starting offensive linemen. Of course, it makes a difference. Not going to take that away from him. There's no question about it. No question that having that offensive line in there made difference for him. But it also, I think, is true that he went into this game with nothing to lose. Okay? You could see a rookie go into and say, no, he's going to start for 3 weeks, and he goes in there and he presses. And I don't think he pressed, except maybe that last play. So in Spencer Rattler's defense, I think if you're going to tell me that one of these 2 guys is going to be your backup quarterback next year, then I think Rattler has the best chance to do that, or should have the best chance to do that. However, it's going to take a whole lot more than a half to tell me that this dude has any chance to be a legitimate starting quarterback in the NFL. Because, again, you can't have a quarterback that reads defenses like he is right now be a starting quarterback. You just can't. I mean, it may be fun to watch, and this whole team is way more fun to watch than it was just a few short weeks ago. But you can't do it. I mean, look, the same way I say don't be over positive about something and bring receipts if you're going to tell me something good. William, I'm going to defend the Rat here. Don't say something bad just to say it, okay? Watch Rattler on Monday night. He will return to his typical inconsistent ways. Neither Jake or Rattler's the answer. I agree with the last sentence that neither one's the answer, but hey, I'm always open. I'm giving someone a chance. No matter what I say about someone, no matter whether I'm proven wrong later, I hope I'm proven wrong. 100%. I would rather come onto this show and sit here and take it one by one from all the people that have come in. And look, a lot of them don't come back because they don't like what I have to say about certain people. Because that's how people are. If you say something, if you watch a show, okay, and 80% of it you might agree with, or let's not say on any particular day. Let's say you watch a show over the course of a month, okay? And you enjoy the show 85% of the time. But the 15% of the time when he's saying something, when I'm saying something, or whoever is saying something that you don't agree with and it really pisses you off, it makes you not want to watch a show. Why is that? Why can't we, as people, not just in sports, and I'm not going to go on a lecture and rant, but why can't we agree to just that we don't agree on something? It's okay to not agree on something. And the same thing can be true that you give someone a chance. Because I said what I said about Spencer Rattler and don't think he can be the starting quarterback for this team doesn't mean that I don't think he doesn't deserve a chance the last 3 games, because I think he does, as long as Carr is not going to play. He earned that right yesterday. Again, we can go back through the reasons why Haener stunk. Drop ball, a big pass that was called back, but it doesn't matter. The only thing that really matters in the long run is the outcome. And the outcome for Rattler yesterday was 19-6, even if he did get the breaks. So doesn't matter that he got the breaks. Sometimes, you know what happens? I'm a huge poker player. A lot of you know that. I love playing poker. It's sometimes in gambling, it's the same way when you're playing football or doing anything else in life. Sometimes you make your own breaks. And maybe Spencer Rattler yesterday, maybe his karma and his energy and his positive energy, because Haener, I got to be honest, for part of that game, even though he was getting bum rushed from the get-go, looked like a deer in the headlights. Spencer Rattler didn't. Maybe part of it is because he did get a chance to play before and Jake Haener didn't. I don't know what it is. Whatever. Spencer Rattler went in there, and I'm man enough to admit it, went in there and took advantage of a second chance yesterday. And by doing so, he's going to get the start at Green Bay next week. And you know what? If anything else, for the rest of his life, Spencer Rattler will be able to tell his kids, and it's probably not that big of a deal for him right now, but it will be one day, especially if he doesn't get a chance to be a starting quarterback in the future. He will get to say he got to start at Lambeau Field on Monday Night Football, the Monday before Christmas. And you know what? That's pretty damn cool. Jason says he deserves it. He does. Taylor says, they don't like what I say and turn it off and go watch Barstool. Look, I don't expect everyone to agree with me. And if you only want to hear what you want to hear, then there are plenty of podcasts for that. It's all good. Preacher Man says he's not crowning Rattler. He's just saying he's better than Haener. There's nothing wrong with saying that. I mean, I got to be honest. After what I saw yesterday, I think I might agree with you. I don't know. UBN, do I want to go to Lambeau? You paying? You buy the tickets in the plane fare. I might go. I don't know, though. Let's see. Hold on. Before we go off the air today, weather in Green Bay next Monday. Yeah, I don't know. It says 29 degrees is a high with snow. Precipitation, 40% chance right now, but yeah. Oh, I don't know. UBN says, you're right. I do not even know why I didn't think of this. You know, he ain't sitting in that. Jules says he's a starter and a rookie. Let him develop and get NFL. He's not a starter. Again, I'll be the first one to come on and say, Jules, you were right. I was wrong. He is a starter. I think there's about a, 3% chance of that. Lance, field trip to Lambeau. Oh boy. And then why don't we end on a note like this? Joseph Prudhomme says, this is not a coach. Let's be real. We had a slim chance to make the playoffs. They had 0.0%. I've seen this whole playoff debate. They did not have a real chance to make them. They had no chance. Not a slim chance, no chance. Mathematically, yes. Realistically, no. They could go 9-8. They're not making the playoffs. But anyway, he says, but when you go for 2, that's out the window. Your defense is on fire. You don't go to OT. You know that's a wrap for the year. It was already a wrap for the year. But I agree with you. They shouldn't have gone for 2. Ray says the weather is in our favor. How do you figure, my friend? When's the last time the Saints won a game when it was below 30 degrees? I'll look that up and have that for you, your answer later on. All right. About time to wrap it up. Yeah, I don't know either, UBN. As you've seen, I left this banner on the screen for a reason. If you didn't hear me say it early on, and I know there's a lot of people who weren't not here early in the show, I found out last night that I have I'm not going to tell you how much, but an embarrassing amount of vacation that I have left on the table for this year. Okay. And I would like to take most of it, if not all. I can carry over a week, but I got way more than a week. And so I'm going to use it. Okay. And that means when I use it, there is no Dattitude. So going forward, I have figured out the schedule for the rest of the year. We will have a show this Wednesday. And on Wednesday, since the Saints play on Monday, there's no reason to have a Friday show anyway. So Wednesday, I know Gabe and I are going to talk about, we'll have our best bets show in some form or fashion, but I'm probably going to have a guest on Wednesday as well. I don't know who it is yet. Preacher Man, thank you. And I know, Ray, I know you're just having fun. Brian, you're right. Cleveland, that wasn't last year. That was 2 years ago. But you're right. Cleveland, it was 6 degrees The Saints won. So you're right about that. There you go. Gabe typed it up. Last win in Weathers, Coles, and Cleveland in 2022. Absolutely. That was the game where Deshaun Watson kind of ran around and did his best. And I think the Browns led at halftime. Then Taysom Hill kind of went off in the second half. Did Taysom Hill things. Of course he did. It was 6 degrees. And who else are you going to give the ball to? A-Town. This would be a solid no. A-Town says, go on vacation and let UBN host the show. And UBN says, let he and Gabe run Dattitude while on vacay. That would be a hard no. All right? And I mean a hard no. Derek, who's my choice at head coach? Too early. Not Rizzi. Someone, okay. You're new. I will tell you this, something I've said many times. My choice for head coach is someone who has no ties to this franchise whatsoever. Someone who is not in the building. Someone, in fact, I would prefer it's someone who's never coached for the Saints, never played for the Saints, doesn't even like to wear black and, or not like, but doesn't have any black and gold in his closet. Someone new. They need to cut ties with everyone from their past, is my opinion. So I can't answer it specifically with who I would like. We're going to have plenty of time to talk about that. First of the year, I guess we'll be talking about right after the last game. Jason Benson, Merry Christmas. Hey, we got another show before Christmas, but Merry Christmas. I hope you're here on Wednesday. Lance says UBN will have him hyped up and he'd lose his house note betting on bowl games if he hosted. Probably. Brian says Mike Vrabel. Lance says Saleh. Definitely not Robert Saleh. I'd be okay with another thing. Who was it again? What was your name again? I'm sorry, Derek, right? Derek Branch. I think it needs to be an offensive-minded coach. They need to go back to their roots. What worked for them in 2006? And I'm not saying this works every time, but when they got Sean Payton had no ties to New Orleans whatsoever. No ties to this organization. The only tie he had at all was that in the one game I think he played in the NFL, a replacement game, he got the snot kicked out of him by the Saints. Other than that, he had no ties. Just saying. Gabe, yes, I remember that Cleveland game. It was really bad. Kind of reminded me of the Giants game from last week, which was also really bad. All right, that's going to wrap it up. We've gone long enough. I could sit here and talk to you all morning, but I got other things to do. Again. All right, so again, Wednesday we'll have a show. Monday we'll have a preview show. I am fairly certain Larry Holder will be here next Monday. I've already talked to him about it. We got to clear it and make sure it's going to happen. So Wednesday we'll probably have a guest. Monday, we'll have a Saints-Packers pregame show. And it'll partly be Mano E Monday. We'll have Mano E Monday for a half an hour, and then Larry will be on for a half an hour. No show on Christmas Eve, so we won't. First time ever that we won't talk about it the day after a game. Sorry. Christmas Eve not working. I got vacation. I got to use it. And then we'll be on that following Friday on the 27th. And then the Saints-Raiders game will be on the day after that. Monday, December the 30th. We'll figure out our regular schedule after that. I know that we're going to do a bowl. I think our bowl show is going to actually be just kind of talking about the playoffs. Playoffs? Yes, college playoffs. So instead of doing a whole bowl show, we would probably talk about that. All right. And lastly, this is the last comment of the day because it's absolutely perfect. Archbishop Shaw High School state champs. Last thing I'll say, I was going to put a couple of clips on, but I knew we were going to be packed with Saints stuff, so I didn't do it. You can go find my Facebook page and my X page, and I have a 4.5 minute or so, maybe no, it's longer than that, maybe 6 minute clip of my scoring calls and when the Saints won. And look, it is anyone involved with Shaw who might be watching this or whatever, whether you're a alum, friend, whatever. I just want to say, and I mean this, and I've said this on Facebook, and I've said this to the face of many a person at Shaw over the past few days. But it was absolutely the honor and privilege, one of the honors and privileges of my career, to be able to do play-by-play for my alma mater winning a state football championship. It was special, man. It really was. I got a little bit emotional there at the end. Again, you can go watch the clips if you want. Put them on Twitter, and I put them on Facebook. And my partner, Jim Rapier, couldn't be there, but also having the great Newman coach, Nelson Stewart, there with me to do it. It was a lot of fun. So you can go check that out if you want. Also, my director, Todd Whittington. All the people at Shaw, seriously, I think as I wear my shirt today, proudly, you can't see it too well unless I lift it up. But all the people at my alma mater, thank you for the opportunity. And who knows? Maybe we'll get to do it again someday soon. We'll see. All right, that's going to wrap it up for us on this Monday. I want to thank today's guest. That would be you, Gabe Henderson, for coming in as well. Mondays with Gabe. We'll see him on Wednesday. We hope you can join us next on Wednesday when we will, I don't know, we'll talk about whatever comes to mind. Who knows what we're going to talk about on Wednesday? Maybe we'll talk more about the rat. Who knows? We'll see. We will spend part of the day certainly taking your comments and questions as we always do. And we'll just wish each other Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays and have a great, maybe we'll drink some champagne or eggnog together. Who the hell knows? You want to get drunk on the show? You think they get mad if I did that? Y'all, that'd be, I don't want to, that would be crazy. Probably get fired. Anyway, reminder to subscribe to our Dattitude page if you haven't already done so. See, a lot of you have given us the like today. Please do so before you leave if you haven't done so already. Click the little bell to receive notifications when we go on the air live, especially since we have a weird schedule the rest of this year. You can also find us wherever you get your podcasts, including Apple, Spotify, and many more. And you can find a replay of the show on NOLA.com/sports. You can find my stuff on bet.nola.com. I wrote something earlier this morning about the Saints being big underdogs next week. And don't forget to check out our friends at NOLA.com/Saints, all of these Saints insiders. We will see you on Wednesday. Have a great Monday evening, a great Tuesday. Because I clicked that button a little too early. Take it easy, my friends.
If you're looking for the latest scoop and in-depth interviews on the Saints, the NFL, the Pelicans, LSU, along with the best bets of the week, then lucky you. Along with high-powered, in-the-know guests who cover our teams, Jim Derry brings plenty of Dattitude. And he'll always tell you the way it is, or at least the way he thinks it is.